Okay, so I wanted to go over the second step in your wireframes, or what we also call mockups, and that is to create a more refined wireframe or mockup. So in the first step of the assignment, you just did a hand-drawn, some of you actually did a digitally drawn mockup or wireframe, which is perfectly fine. But this time we want a more formalized version of it. So take the one, refine it based on your feedback. And I'm going to use just Adobe Illustrator. You could even do this in Word with the basic shapes in Word, or any kind of graphic creation program. So I'm going to go to File, New. And the typical website size that you want to go for is 1920 by 1080. So this has a web option, and you can see it says 1920 by 1080, and I'll go ahead and hit Create. So this first screen is what we consider above the fold. And that means that's what the website will look at like when you first get onto the website and you haven't scrolled yet. So it's really important that this screen shows the logo or the site title, the navigation in an easy to use area, usually social media icons, but maybe not. And then it should have some attractive elements. So a big picture or 3 pictures that represent, or a good illustration, or gorgeous colors, or something of that nature. So the website isn't often actually this wide. The website will be kind of in this area, and then we can show what the background would look like for the website. But as with the wireframe, we're going to keep this pretty simple. We're just creating a clean version of it. So I'm going to use all the basic shape tools, and if you have Illustrator, you can do this little tear off tab. And you're going to make it sort of generic. So I'm going to go about this wide so that that background can show. And sometimes what I actually like to do is put the background, but just make it gray so that I can tell that it's the background of the website. And then you're going to have to decide based on, again, on your sketches. And just so you know, sorry, I should tell you, if you don't want to have a background, a lot of web pages actually, are the full width of the screen. That's absolutely okay. It's a little bit harder to code those though. And I know you look at websites online and they're amazing, and you're like, oh, I could do this, I could do that. And technically you can do that, but this is still Web Design 1. And so we're still learning the basics. So make your life easier and just do something a little bit more simplified. So I'm going to go ahead and pretend where I want my logo. So I'll probably have my logo there. And I don't actually want to put that in there just because I don't have it ready yet. But really, it stops people from being distracted by the look of things if you just do generic. Okay. So then what I often do is I type something like nav. I know you can't see that, but so this would be the nav, and I don't want it to be as big as the logo. And then if you're in Illustrator, the cool thing is if you hold your Option or Alt key and drag, and you can hold Shift to kind of constrain it from moving up and down. And once you let go, you can do Command or Control D and just pop. It'll repeat that last step, so that's really helpful. And if you had a button and this really looked like a button, I would make it look like that. So I would actually throw the rectangle for that button down, and maybe it's a color. Let's see if that worked. Oops. We're going to make this white, and then we're going to put that underneath it. And of course it's not working. What is happening here? Whoa, I'm getting crazy. Did I just delete it? Okay, this is ridiculous. So, arrange, bring to front. All right. So if you intend to have it look like a button, then you should have it look like a button here. I intend it to not look like a button and just be links without boxes. So don't put boxes unless you really have to. So I know that I want a big, gorgeous image right here. So I'm going to pop that in there, give it a shade of gray, a little bit different. And I could do a generic little mountains, little sun, something a little generic. But what you always want to do is you want to write notes. So I'm going to go ahead. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I'm going to go ahead and write a note here that says hero image of product. So you pretend my website, I'm trying to sell a product. So that gives us a note as to what that will look like. And I usually italicize this so that we know it's not really, you know, this is just a note for us. So then right here, maybe I want the mission statement. So I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I'm just going to Option or Alt drag this since it's already the size I want, and do mission statement. And notice I'm not worrying about colors. I'm not worrying about fonts. I'm not worrying about any of that stuff. Again, we're still just worrying about structure right now, and moving on from there. So I don't actually want to write the mission statement here. So what I'm going to do for that is just draw lines and make it look centered. So there we go. There's one line, and we can actually make that a little bit thicker. So again, Alt or Option drag, and I like it to look like a real paragraph by just like scooting it in a little bit, making it look like uneven lines. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for, is a more cleaned up version. Now, in addition to this, what I would recommend for you, it's not something that I'm going to look for in terms of grading, but I would actually lay out your whole homepage. And actually, maybe I can't remember what it says in it, but if it says in there you have to do the whole homepage, don't listen to me right then. But the reason why is because this is the guide that you're going to use to actually build your website. And so having it laid out and knowing how you want it to look helps me to help you. And it'll help you to be like, okay, here's what I need for this, and here's how wide these things need to be. You can take notes on this, whatever. So in my opinion, I would finish making the entire homepage. Then what you're also going to do is you're going to create a secondary page. So the common pages are the home page, a contact us page, an about us page. And then like if this is your portfolio, you'd probably have a gallery page, and then you might have a page for services. So try to keep it to 5 pages. Again, that's just for your sanity. Doing a lot more is going to drive you crazy, especially if you're taking other classes. So those are the 5 basic pages, but like if you're doing an animal shelter's website, then you're not going to have a gallery and services, but you might have a page for adoptable pets and a page for how to adopt a pet. So just think through those extra pages. All right, so I don't want my internal pages like my contact us or my portfolio page isn't going to look like this. So what I'm going to do is with this artboard selected, and you're going to have to just recreate it if you're not in something like Illustrator. If I go to the artboard tool, I can get or click Option or Alt again. Anytime you hold that down and click and drag something, it's going to take a copy of that whole thing so that you can easily work with it. And the reason why we do that is because your website should be very consistent. If you have your logo in the top left and your nav on the top right, they should stay that way for every single page on your website. So I'm going to leave those base things, but I'm not going to have a hero image on an internal page because it takes a lot of bandwidth, or a lot of bandwidth in order to load one of those hero images. So we're going to leave it like that. And if this was my portfolio page, I would need to start thinking through, and I have like 85 pieces I could put on here right this minute, but that's going to drive you crazy. So pick like 6 so that you can create a layout with enough so it doesn't look empty, but just enough so that you don't go crazy trying to put all your work on here. So pick your 6 best things, and let's see. I think I want to put a project here. And again, I'm going to give it, just a shade of gray. And it's a perfect square. That's going to be nice for me for photo editing, to just crop everything to a square. It's not a perfect square, I lied. 375. Okay. Ooh. 375. Okay. So that's a perfect square. And I think if I were to alt drag these, I do believe they all fit across. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to put project name. And it's italicized for some reason. I'm going to make it bold and a lot smaller. And maybe I want it centered. So again, I'm not putting the content necessarily. And then, okay, so then I just probably want a little tiny teaser text. for each of those projects. And then maybe like a learn more button underneath it. And this one I will actually have a shape. And we're going to fill that. And we're going to put learn more. I'm going to make it white. So you can see I'm trying to work with a lot of good contrast. And this gives everybody an idea of what a portfolio page will look like. And hopefully it doesn't take you too long to build it because you're keeping it simple. Okay, so once I have that project name, I can come up here, or that kind of project stuff done. And then again, Alt or Option, try to evenly space it. And there we go. So it's not evenly spaced exactly. So I'm just going to probably align that here. Sorry if, you know, this isn't like a formal tutorial video. This is how I would show you in class. I actually am just trying to show you my stream of thought. So that's why you hear me just talking to myself sometimes. So again, below the fold, they'll scroll, but you wouldn't see this blank empty space. You'd see the start of the new projects. So I'm actually going to do this and leave it like that. So then when you actually send this to me as a PDF or whatever, I probably won't see this stuff down here, but you will. Now you can, if you want to, expand this like you did with this one and really see the full page. That's up to you. But that shows me enough of your secondary gallery page that I get what you're going for. So you're creating a cleaned up version of your wireframe, and now you should have picked a layout for your site. So you shouldn't see a logo over here and then this is a radically different like logo in the center with the nav underneath. We should see some of that consistency for your actual website. If you have any questions, let me know, and I look forward to seeing what you come up with. If you want to do all 5 pages of your site, you can. The one thing I caution you, the more pages you have with different layouts, the harder your website is. A lot of people just build one home page, and that's going to always naturally have a different layout than every other page on your site. But then a lot of people just create a basic page without, let's say all these project names were gone. Actually, I'll just build that out. So Alt or Option drag, get rid of anything that's not consistent. And they literally just have a page like this where they say, okay, this is the heading for this page. And that's too chunky. Here's the heading. That's way too big too. So this is what the heading would look like on this page, and then they often will put a bunch of lines. So we'll put that line down there, make it a little bit chunkier so it's easier to see. And your website can really just look, I'm going to do Alt or Option drag. Let me show a subheading. And that should have been left aligned. So the subheading would be like an H2, and it shouldn't look as big as the other one. So there we go. And then I'm just going to copy the fake text here. And there we go. So what am I going to put on the sidebar? Maybe events. Maybe every page on your website is going to have this one sidebar saying upcoming events. So I'm going to put that there, put upcoming events, put a couple of lines to show the events. And maybe every page on your site, even the contact page, you would have maybe the form right here and a map right here, but you're going to have your content on the left and a sidebar on the right, and the sidebar stays the same. So that would be fairly easy to build after this class. But now, like I said, if you have this layout, plus this layout, and then you do something radically different for the about page and then something different for the contact us page, it would be really cool, but it's going to be harder for you. So you've been warned. So, all right. I think that's it. Let me know if you have any questions, or if I didn't explain something in this video and you think I can make it better for the next class, definitely tell me that too.